Yeah.
right?
Well, okay, sure. So, I wanted to share a couple things. So, I've been seeing these beings for about 4 or 5 years that have been interacting with me directly. And at first, I wanted to say that, like the collective, a lot of people are seeing things. Okay, and that's
Hmm.
part of it because we are in a higher frequency. The planet's on a higher frequency, and your DNA has been activated to see. So, if
Hmm.
you ever were told that you were crazy or you felt like you were crazy for what you're seeing, you're not crazy.
No.
You're meant to see what you're supposed to see because they are talking to you. It's kind of like a message directly to you from these beings. And what I realized is when you mirror the image of your image that you take, basically it creates a sacred geometry or a universal law of balance, and you'll
Hmm.
see them full image and full display because what happens is these beings are coming from higher densities,
Hmm.
11th 12th density, and there are so many of them and they're overlaid on top of each other, going upside down, left to right, down and up, that what happens is when you mirror your image in all directions, you'll start seeing them, and you're meeting them halfway when you set the intentions to go see them, because it's all about frequency and vibration, guys. Like when you're matching a certain frequency, your DNA is activated, you'll start seeing them. And what I mean frequency is not everybody's at that frequency, and it's okay if you're not. But once you set the intentions to see, then so it is. So you'll start to people are starting to match that frequency. They're seeing things. Their loved ones and siblings and family members aren't at that frequency and are not seeing anything, and then they're being labeled as crazy or schizophrenic or whatever you want to term you want to call it, but they're not. It's just that the frequency of the planet's rays you've been chosen to see, and you were chosen to kind of divulge into this, and there's a reason why you're able to see now. Like everything's calculated by design on how God works and how it works for all of us. And once you mirror it, you're setting the intention to meet them halfway. And these beings are conscious. They'll let you know. They'll answer questions for you. You'll get downloads, you get information, and they'll let you know. And as you progressively do this, the pictures will come in clear like this, where you'll get beings coming in full. Like this is an amphibious type of being in here. And I have a collection of interesting pictures I like to share. Just
Hmm.
let me see. Let me see here if I
Sure.
can do this here.
You go ahead. I gave you the rights to share.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Cool. Awesome. Okay. So now here's some of my greatest pictures of mirroring here. Now you have these are all different beings that I've mirrored over the last couple of years, and I just took a couple pictures out of the thousands. A lot of the seers are seeing this now and experiencing this now, but you're seeing different beings in here. And notice the different facial features and how they're stacked on top of each other. It can kind of remind people of totem poles. Which it makes me wonder if the Native Americans, this is where they got the totem poles from, because of the fact that they're able to kind of connect. They were able to see these beings back in the day, and they were already at a higher frequency. So when we mirror our reality, we're actually meeting them halfway using our technology, and our technology then can see them. And a lot of times they use the clouds to paint the canvas for us to see, but they're literally etheric metaterrestrial beings. Literally, they're overlaid in everything, not just the clouds, but the sky, our skin, the grass. They're in everything. So when we zoom in, when you can like change the contrast of some of these colors and you see the frequency colors coming off of them, a lot of these beings, to a lot of people who aren't awake to this, would think that oh, some of these beings don't look evil. They don't look pleasant. Well, a lot of them aren't necessarily pleasant looking, but it doesn't make them evil. There is light in place in things that we don't perceive and we don't understand what it is. So just because it looks evil or it doesn't look like an angel to you doesn't make them angelic at all. It makes them it's just you don't have an understanding at the moment of what is light and dark because it's so kind of blurred in. But there are beings here that look kind of almost cartoon characterish, and that's partially why it makes me question our cartoons in the Saturday morning back in the day, and pop culture references of different beings that are they actual real beings, because some of these beings look like that. They look like straight up out of a cartoon, and or straight up out of a movie that we've seen, and they are real. There are tons of faces stacked on. Just like maybe in each one of these pictures, it's an activation to help you understand that. Well, first, what they look like, because for all of our existence, we've been heard about these beings. We've been shown in our pop culture, but we never physically seen them in our reality. So now this is activation for you to first see what they look like. And then once you start seeing what they look like in this format, then you'll start seeing them in your reality a lot easier, because now you'll know what to look for. You'll know kind of what they all look like. And they're all different types, and they all exist in different aspects. You have beings in here where it looks like a little stick figure guy, and he's actually he's in, what makes this multidimensional is you have this being you see in the middle, and you see this dragon being in the outside. His mouth of the one being is the stick figure guy that you're seeing in here. And you have this little guy in the bottom of the screen down here that's doing something. And it's very interesting when you see these beings. Now I do have, oh, here's another good one. This one was, I was taken outside of Colorado at my friend's house. And as you can see here, multiple beings stacked on each other. It looks like the being has a mustache where his lips are, but his mustache is actually the arms of another being. And you can see the head there, the eyes. The eyes have came in clear for me now over the last few months. But when you first start doing this, don't get discouraged if they're not coming in clear, because it's like it's a process for you energetically. They understand and fully understand what you're seeing and how to see them, and then they'll slowly open your pineal gland and remove the veil, energetic veil for you, and you'll start getting detail, and you'll start learning. Once you start knowing what to look for, then it's easier for a lot of people to see them. You have a being at the top that kind of looks like a goat, but it's like it's kind of like an alien, kind of have the alien look. You have this being with the mustache. He looks like he's wearing a mask, or he can look like a dragon. Some people, and nobody's wrong on what you're seeing, because there's so many beings and metaterrestrials overlaid on top of each other in our skies that's how they kind of hide in cloaking for us not to see them. So one person across the street could see a dragon, or could see an eyeball floating, or a hamster, and another person across the street could see a cat. And there's different beings. Like here's another one in the lighter part of the cloud, and you can see the darker parts. So they're in the light and the dark. They're a balance of both and embodying both. That both the light beings can be dark beings and light beings. So they literally are flying around our skies right now, and you won't even be able to see them, because they're literally in another light spectrum that our eyes can't see. I think the human body, the human eye, can only see 2% of all known light spectrums in our universe. So that's 98% of all the light spectrums we don't see. So they're literally flying around in our reality. And a lot of times they'll let us see, but sometimes they won't. And this just shows you that they're in the dark part here. Here's another one. There's a being that's completely dark. He's not even the cloud. And you can see his eyes are the cloud part. And he was just floating there. And there's a couple other beings there above him that's like in his head there. And another being. There's at least like 10 beings in there. Then you have a being at the top. But the being's smiling here. So this is what I'm telling you. Like they're positive light beings. They're here to help the collective, in a sense of assisting, but they're not here. They're here watching us save ourselves from ourselves, because this has never happened in the galaxy, from my understanding. We broke the mold, humans, and they're here to help assist us. A lot of these beings are angelic. They're watchers, and they've been here for a long time. Some of them have been here longer than I was even born, but there's a lot of them that are here have just came here in the last couple of years. Assists. And yeah, they're all over our reality. They're in the trees too. You can see them in the trees here. So our trees, when they say our trees are conscious and alive, this is also brings a point to that, because it's like an overlaid consciousness that goes over it. It's an etheric energy, conscious energy that takes over the trees, and they can actually make the trees alive when they do this. Here's a feline being that came out of the sun when I was taking a picture of female feline. Now you can see there's a feline being in here, and then if you flip this picture upside down, it becomes what's interesting, which makes this multidimensional on all these pictures, okay, is that the dimensions don't change, but the beings do. So the fact that you can put it upside down and it's different beings in the same dimensions, and you'll see a whole different image and a whole different set of beings, makes this a multidimensional picture. And it's also gave me confirmation about the felines. This is one of my female guides that follows me around a lot. And I happened to see her coming out of the sun, and it blew my mind. And I have all my originals and my pictures on my Telegram channel and my Instagram and Facebook. and all my videos are on there too, as long as my TikTok as well. So, and I'll give you the links to that, Mel, too, so that way you can post it for people to see. But yeah, bro, this is generally 100% real. This is basically they come through the clouds. A lot of them follow us around a lot, and if you're seeing them in the skies, you were meant to see them. You're not crazy. You're probably seeing them now even more so than ever because of the consciousness of the planet has been raised and your DNA has been activated. We've been getting hit by tons of energy from the sun, from these light spectrums, these light codes. And if you notice, the sun is a different color sun. It's now crystalline in structure. It looks crystalline. There's rainbows coming out of the sun, streaks. It's because we are in a higher frequency, a higher state of being. And our sun is conscious as well. And it knows exactly where we're at. It knows exactly how much light to hit the planet. It knows exactly where to send the light through. That's why it's kind of interesting how we're seeing all this and seeing this play out. Oh yeah, you can see the being in here. He looks like he's wearing a helmet. He's got his hands up in a one spectrum, and then there's another bigger being that they're all coming into grips with. That's kind of how they come together. So they're all one. They're all unified. One being, if one being is missing from this, it makes the image not what you see. You wouldn't be able to see the bigger picture image. But the fact that they're all unified and they're all different species coming together to create one image and multiple beings in one image should already tell you already what this is. And here's another feline being coming out of the sun, and you can look at the eyes. I mean, you can see the eyes,
the ears,
he looks
everything.
like Tony the ears, yeah, coming out of the sun. And you can see his ears, and there's another being on top of him that's in the middle of his head, and I think his mouth is another being if you flip it upside down. But yeah, that's how they come in, man. They come in grand like this, and a lot of the times we just don't realize what's above us. We can feel it. Some of us can see it, and we're like, oh, that's not right. That looks weird. But we never had a privy into this moment to see them until now, and now we're able to see. And since I was able to learn this and do it myself, and then they actually physically came down into this reality, and I seen them because I'm a visual learner. Like, you got to show me. Like I'm from the show me state.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to show. You know what I mean? You got to show me how this works. So they came down into this reality and physically manifested in front of me, like as orbs and flashing orbs. And I have a whole video with that on my TikTok. In a playlist of all my encounters with them, and it told me that they were going to do this. And I had like an hour-long conversation with them multiple times, and it's telepathic. When you talk to them, it's so weird, but it's like you speak to them and you can kind of see, and when you see them in this reality as this light orb, they vibrate. They vibrate to what they're saying, and the voice kind of gets into your head. So you can kind of know, it's kind of like you're talking to yourself, but you can see this thing talking to you and answering questions, and you can kind of hear their voice in your head, and that's how they kind of appear. Here's another one. This is
do you have like you have an expensive camera that you're constantly taking pictures of the sky when something looks weird, and then you come home and dissect it, or maybe are you really good at Photoshop, and you're pulling the wool over the humanity's eyes, or
no,
what is this, man?
No Photoshop. I'm not good at Photoshop. Okay. I don't have Photoshop at all. It's all from and actually I had the one camera I did have was a GoPro, but then this is all from my cell phone. And some of these pictures are this is from a friend of mine took this picture, and I mirrored it for her. And if you can see, I have the originals on my channel, but it was a tree. Her eyes are the tree, and that's the moon going in there, and that's smoke. She was smoking something like a cigarette or something when she took this, and they aligned the smoke and the moon was aligned perfectly to come through as their eyes. There's a being. The bottom part is smoke where her face is, and then you can see a little being where the mouth is, just sitting there as their mouth. And that was wild when I seen this, and I was like, oh wow, I had to and that's how they can do it. They can kind of do it like that too. They can literally overlay themselves and change things in our reality. They're that good. And yeah, it's very interesting.
You're speaking about smoke. Your friends don't smoke anything funny, do they?
No, they don't. They don't.
I had to ask you.
Don't. No. Now this is interesting too. My face in the clouds. You can kind of see it, right?
Yeah.
right there for people that are looking for it. Yeah, and this was during a solar flare event where the sun got really bright, and I was looking at it, and I saw my face in there, and you can see it like it looks like coming out my nose there, but that was interesting as well. Yeah, it's interesting.
So you are basically getting these photographs sent to you from everywhere in the world now. At this point, when people see something like this, they know to shoot it over to you. Is that how it's working?
Yes, I'm teaching people more and more to do that, but 90% of these are all I've taken myself and I mirrored them. Like this one here, they put 5D in the sky, and this is not mirrored. This is just regular picture. They put the 5D. You can see 5 right here, and then the D. Yes. This is like they're communicating with us. And it blew my mind when I did that one. Here's them coming through the light here of the sun, and you can see like a lion being and the rainbow light here coming through the light codes that way. And yeah, here's another being coming out of the sun, and it's a full face coming out of the sun. Long face. He's got like a long face, a huge head coming out, and he's just floating there. And a lot of us are seeing it one direction, so we're not even noticing the face. We're just thinking this is a weird looking cloud. But when you turn your image this way, then you can see the face. You can see the nose, his eye, his mouth coming out there. Very interesting stuff. Here's that side of Kathy's house, Kathy's shed, or son's shed. When I went over there the first time I got there, and I saw this weird reflection on her thing, so I mirrored it. And this is on her Kathy's son's garage. This being was sitting there, and I was just like, "What's going on?" They followed me all the way down to Florida.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, and here's some more of them. Looks like a lion being wearing a helmet, because he's kind of wearing a helmet, but the helmet's another being, and you can kind of see him. He's got slit eyes, and this is how they kind of keep ourselves in our reality. They literally are overlaid in everything. And I think the government knows, certain parts of the government knows that they exist. Like this is like, it's like really compartmentalized. And like, but they're going to citizens like you and myself, and they're not waiting for the government to announce this. It's kind of our job to kind of help the collective understand that they're here, why they're here, their purpose of being here, and the fact that you can see them. Yeah, and there's a lot of us that do see them.
Yeah, listen, you cannot deny what that is. I see a lot of this stuff too. I'm an astral surfer. I've been astral surfing for a long time. I told my wife, I says, if they can hook up electrodes to my brain and hook me up to a computer system with a monitor and see what I see, I can literally close my eyes and I'm astral surfing literally sometimes within 30, 40 seconds. Okay. And I see all kinds of crazy shapes, and I see sometimes people's faces. I see sometimes people's faces as clear as day. The other day I was on, I don't know what planet I was on, but I saw people kissing and making out. Wild, right? But I have not been able to see. Yeah. I see structures, but very not in focus. I don't see actual buildings. I want to be able to like go to other planets, out of body experience, which I do have an out of body. That is an out of body experience, by the way. And I've been doing it before I've had the EE system. The EE system and our plasma medbed has enhanced that by leaps and bounds. Yes. But I've been able to do that for a very, very long time. It's sort of like, even though I've never done ayahuasca, I wanted to. There was a time when I was living in Costa Rica, which is like ayahuasca capital of the world. I said, I'm going to do ayahuasca. I started watching ayahuasca videos on YouTube. They couldn't produce it fast enough. I was consuming ayahuasca videos like they were going out of style. And I was getting ready to do it. And then all of a sudden I said, the novelty for some reason wore off, and I became disinterested. But anyway, I did find the video. I'm going to blow your mind now out of the water. Check this out. This is mind blowing. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
Tell me if you could see that.
Let's see here. Yep. This just started.
Right. It says MedBeds in 2023 defense budget. Okay. Hidden within 2023 defense budget is something very interesting indeed. Wow. Should we hit the play button?
We should.
Within the 2023 defense budget is something very interesting indeed. In these documents is a proposal for something they are calling rapid healing for warfighter injuries. That is, technologies that can rapidly accelerate the restoration and repair of complex tissues. The document goes on to say the program will develop approaches that combine high-resolution biosensors to track the healing process in real time with bioactuators to stimulate restoration, where and when they are needed. This sounds very much like the concept of medbeds, a technology shown in movies like Elysium that can heal any illness or disease.
Interesting.